and Proud of Africa, Professor Ngu Thiongo. Karibuni sana. Welcome. Murembe. Netamo Nitogeni. Herzlich willkommen. I would like to first of all thank our communication and technology team led by Troni and Ishmael for your wonderful work. Thank you for your time also. I would like to thank Barbara Codwell for her help, support, communication, and quick response. She made this organization a little bit easier. I would like to acknowledge, please, if you're there, maybe show your face. I would like to acknowledge Professor Abdulatif Abdallah, also a living legend here in Germany. He is a writer who was jailed by the Kenyatta regime after he questioned the direction into which it was guiding Kenya in a political pamphlet. If you're here, I thank you for coming. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Udhiru Wakanayo. I saw her from the Freedom School, who is putting the philosophy of decolonizing the mind into practice through their re-education system in Kenya. I would like to welcome you. Thank you for coming. I want to acknowledge International African School, who are part of the organizers of this event and who also recently launched the magazine Sauti ya Africa. And Ishmael and Troni are going to put the link in the chat. You can subscribe to the magazine or buy the magazine. This is how we support each other. So thank you for coming. I also saw my sheroes, our global African sheroes who are here today, watching from all over the globe and who are also here. So I would want to welcome you all and thank you for taking your time. Tonight, we will start our program with a song from Njeri called Just Like Me. She is going to sing to us a song that she composed herself. Her name is Njeri Wagoro from Kenya. She's a mother of two, a student, and a wonderful Gikuyu storyteller. I had the privilege of listening to her reading children's books and in a project that took place in Munster. And I never heard someone read Gikuyu so beautifully. She rediscovered Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o's book while in Munster. So Njeri, the floor is yours and welcome.
Yeah. Do this. Rename. Good evening, everybody. Jetaboje wagoro na negumoinera arbororo nerwa goge wa Thiongo netodo goge wa Thiongo damu menyire de Germany na gumo yake dame gwire mono makeria goko ukira oria dame we Kenya na reda igwire ena kwena event yake donire niki muhe niki fata muno igihe gogo wa Thiongo tiga rwimbo na kwa rwaro nero wake rwa kumutia noro muhe takiheo ya kumwera ni wega ndio wa go thiena na urume wake wa kuandika na rudiomi rwitoro wa Gikuyu inyuothe ni mwanyitwo geni. Goge wa Thiongo, jambale te ega to jambara orere, etangi koteka. Is the voice okay?
Yeah, the voice is okay, yeah.
Okay. Goge wa Thiongo, jambale te ega to jambara orere, etangi koteka. Goge wa Thiongo, jambale te ega to jambara koteka. Ande wandoi, ona wai kogereza, ekwende kana rodiomi wa Gikuyu, ne wamenyire, yomi walamaki, ire anagira, nagesiko kemwe, kwa Ohotiko nangomoko ge vienambere pande kera maratari ne makyoro naro diomi oro ulage koyo. Oge wa yono kamare ne egato kamaya norede etonge koteka. Oge wa yono kamare ne egato kamere nome etonge koteka. Potire rodiomi rodomo kana gokera romi. Owa diomi sia rogoro netinge pohairenge na nyororo. Yomine diomi potire Rwanda kana romo. Domiti watane ndugu naiheya nerera. Yara yage koyo netondo de modemi. Akoro de nanowe ndio ninge ogora. Onandururi dato. Oke wala yamla. Kamane ne egato. Kamaya roede. Etange moteka. Oke wala yamla. Kamane ne egato. Kamene kata. Kane wandoi. Daddy wangoge na wagoro inyumwenjata okera imokenge na ibuashiari netwaragere siana shito narodio mirito tondo na masiaro totiviaga komagorera iriadu kaile Mamindale diage koyo warie nangoro yako noti Thiongo yako Goge wajongo jamane ne egato jamaya lorede etange koteka Goge wajongo jamane ne egato jamere kata tande wandoi
Who's that person?
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Niwega. Thank you so much for that wonderful song, a powerful and meaningful song. Thank you. Please do allow me to introduce myself. Names are not just names, but they carry with them our histories, cultures, and identities. Names have a history, a present, and a future. My name is Jerry, the matriarch of the Serra clan. I am one of the 9 daughters of Mombi and Gikoyo, according to the book, The Perfect Nine, where our legends are retold. I live in search of justice, equality, community building. Maybe this is why I'm also a community activist. Jerini Jata Jerry, as Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o calls me, and I'm always very happy when he calls me that. Every time I speak to him, I learn something new, something valuable about my own mother tongue, but also more about my own heritage.
Okay.
Our talks, which are interspersed with Gikuyu phrases, are always full of laughter, and he can attest that my language skills are getting better by the day. I've been highly influenced by the work of Professor Ngugi ever since I first read his book, Petals of Blood, at a young age, and have been on what I call my journey of resistance as I read one book after the other. The first time I met Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, I had my small baby on my back, and nothing would make me lose or not go to that event. I walked up to him to take a picture, and we had a small chat. And I remember his words to me as if they were just yesterday. Learn your mother language. Learn your mother tongue. No matter how educated you are, if you do not speak your mother tongue, you are still miseducated. Learning your mother tongue is a plus and not a minus of what you want to achieve. Those words touched my soul because they were true. I could not speak, write, or read in Kikuyu. Since then, I have decided to re-educate myself, to master my mother tongue, to know culture and its history. As a historian working on the fields of post-colonial studies, African history, and gender studies, this meant that I had to decolonize myself first. I had to learn and know and appreciate that I am a carrier and guardian of my own history and culture. There is a new generation of young Africans who are waking up, no matter where they are located, who are rediscovering the work of Prof Ngu Thiongo, and who are creating cultures of resistance by acknowledging the importance of their own mother tongues as tools of liberation. For me, having this opportunity to speak with Professor Ngu Thiongo is a dream come true. It is a step towards self-empowerment, self-love. We must be careful with the vocabulary that defines us, to not internalize the negativity, as Professor Ngu Thiongo once said. This event has been organized by me and my three colleagues, Odelia, Rose, and Bamba, who will introduce themselves in a minute. I know you've all been wondering, what is this CAL with 2 A's? And so I am going to tell you that CAL stands for Kemet Awards for Achievement in African Languages. We have decided to launch CAL, an award in honor of the work and philosophy of Professor Ngu Thiongo, because the children of Mother Africa are rising up, and we as African women at the forefront. Before I introduce our guest, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge that we do not stand alone, but we stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us and who have paved the way for us. I would like to acknowledge all those whose names we know and all those whose names we will never know. It is because of them we are. I would like to acknowledge my own mother and thank her for her hard work of protecting, providing, nurturing, loving, and taking care of her grandchildren. I will not be here if it was not for her hard work and her hard sacrifices. And I acknowledge every mother and every woman who is here today. And I will hand over to my colleague Odelia to introduce herself. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you please, before I continue, can you please mute your microphones? Please let us respect this space and mute your microphones, please. If you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Thank you. My name is Odelia Anyachi Okonga. I was named after my grandmother Anyachi, whom I never met. Growing up, I never liked my name Anyachi until I found out its meaning when I was an adult. Of course, Ngugi wa Thiongo's books were a catalyst of self-consciousness for me. They helped to make me appreciate myself and know myself. Anyachi means the eye of God in the Igbo language, which means that my ancestors must have migrated from present-day Nigeria to Kenya. You see, my most powerful name had been silenced while growing up. What if I had known what it had meant then as an 8-year-old, as a teenager, as a young adult? What if? Well, I am the founder of the African School Netherlands, where we teach African history, culture, and African languages. We have recently launched the magazine, as Njeri has told you, Sauti ya Africa, the voice of the diaspora. The magazine is actually the African School, but on paper. You will find culture and history, African culture and history in it. The goal is to inform, educate, and share our African culture with the world. I'd like Rose to introduce herself. Thank you. Rose, you're on mute.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay. My name is Wambui, Rose Wambui, and I want to thank Vamba and Odilia and Jerry. This has been a wonderful journey, wonderful conversations, and I have been looking forward to this day so very much, and it's finally here. My name is Wambui, Rose Wambui, Wambui like my grandmother and my great-great-grandmother, who are all alive. I have been blessed with many grandmothers, and my great-grandmother told me, Wambui totiaka wa mashuru, which basically means nobody messes with Wambuis. Yeah, and from Gogo Thiongo's Keda Muyuru, this book, this is my first book in Kikuyu, my very, very first purchase, and I'm so grateful for this one. And from this book, I learned that Wambui was Kikuyu Mumbi's second daughter, and she was a warrior, and she actually rode on a zebra. So sometimes people used to call me Wambui wa Mushore. Yeah, and she was an advocate of equal rights, and she once declared that a boy and a girl are equally capable of fending for the nation. And now more than ever, I'm proud to be called by my name, Wambui. I am a musician, an educator, and a student. I study special education, just finishing up with my master's right now. And my constant area of research has been internalized racism. And Gogo Thiongo's Decolonizing the Mind helped me a great deal in dealing with my own internalized racisms. I love literature. I have loved reading since I was a tiny girl, often bumping into things because I used to read while working, while cooking, and often getting into fights with my mother, who cannot be here today, because of reading. And it is therefore such a great honor to be in this space today and to directly speak with and to you, Professor Ngu, and to be part of this amazing project and to be part of the project that is coming after this. So thank you so much to our friends, to our family, for joining us in this beautiful moment. And I will hand over to you now, to you, Vamba.
Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you, Odilia. Thank you, Jerry. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to be part of this special event tonight. A moment to pause and reflect on the work and life of one of the giants of African literature, and with the man himself. My name is Vamba Sharif. I'm a novelist, essayist, book and film critic. My novels have been translated in many languages. I was born in Liberia, grew up in Kuwait, and for the past 20 years, I've been living in the Netherlands. I grew up reading Professor Thiongo. The world he created was so persuasive that a Liberian boy living in a forest town could intimately relate to the daily life and struggles of the characters of that world. I came to care deeply for his characters, to laugh with them, and to cry when their humanity was stripped away from them, and as they fought fiercely to hold on to it. Literature makes lives bearable. We have art, wrote Friedrich Nietzsche, so that we may not be destroyed by the truth. Ngungi wa Thiongo's art made life possible for me and for many in Africa and in the world. In his world, we felt at home. In his world, we belonged. And when years later, I met the man himself in South Africa at the time of the Writer Festival in Durban, it was like a dream come true. What I found remarkable then And what still interests me is the passion to which this writer and thinker, who has become a friend and a colleague, has continued to bring to his work. What moves me is his impassioned plea for the minority and the downtrodden among us to be heard. He was the teacher I'd hoped to meet. I followed him around in Durban, recording our conversations, which were revealing and encouraging, and which were ultimately challenging in their demand from me, from all of us, to never forget who we were, to never neglect our heritage, and which asks of us to always and forever celebrate our mother tongues, our African heritage, even if these efforts were made in small, simple gestures, in small increments. So mwalimu wa Thiongo, asante sana, Ise, Imama, Ninke, thank you. We say in Mende, Bandi, Loma, and Mande in the tongues that I speak in my mother tongues. With your latest offering, the Perfect Nine, we have another gift for the word. The work is an accumulation of all the themes that have occupied you, but it's much more than that. It is a love song for our mothers, our sisters, our aunts. It is a love song for humanity. Professor, welcome. Over to you now, Jerry.
Wow. Oh, Bamba, thank you so much for those inspiring words. As we can see, the work and philosophy of Professor Ngu wa Thiongo has no geographical boundaries, and Bamba is a perfect example of this. I have the honor of introducing our guest speaker today, and I don't know even if we need to introduce him, but I will try. Our guest tonight needs no introduction because his work and philosophy speaks for itself. Professor Ngu wa Thiongo is currently Distinguished Professor of English and Comparative Literature at the University of California, Irvine. He was born in Kenya in 1938. He was educated at Kamandura, Mangu, and Kinyogori Primary Schools and Alliance High School. He studied at Makerere University College, then a campus of London University, Kampala, Uganda, and the University of Leeds in Britain. He is a renowned Kenyan writer who was exiled, and imprisoned for his work. He, however, rose above that and became the writer or the writing legend he is today. He is worth of any prize, Nobel or otherwise. He has written many books, as well as children's books, which we cannot mention all here today, but please to make a point of buying his books. And we would like today to discuss his latest book, The Perfect Nine, Keda Mwiro, something torn and new about memory and remembering, which is crucial for our Carl Awards and his seminal work, Decolonizing the Mind. And I will let now Odilia start, and we can see our professor. Please, Professor Ngu wa Thiongo, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And over to you, Odilia. You start our conversation for tonight. Unmute yourself, please, Odilia.
Welcome, welcome, Professor. We are so glad to see you. And I will go straight to my first question. Professor, in one of your books, Something Torn and New. And by the way, that book, you cannot find it in the stores. So please kindly do something about it.
Which one?
Something Torn and New.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, we tried to look for it everywhere. It was very hard to find. So, and it is a book I recommend every young person of African descent in the world to read. Now, in that book, you wrote, memory and consciousness are inseparable. but language is the means of memory. Can you explain this phrase in the context of how Africa has been affected by the loss of her memory? And how can this loss be salvaged through the language?
First of all, let me say thank you very much for Radio Core for organizing this. I've been in constant interaction with Jerry Nejata, and she been very inspiring. She talked about her friends, some of whom I know already, and who can forget the eye of God? I mean, really, and the work she is doing. Wamba, we were actually I remember that visit in Natal. I thought we'd have many more, but it never came to be. Yeah, it was really wonderful to have the conversations. We had talked about languages. We talked about his enormous knowledge of languages, including Arabic. And yeah, and I was really saying that's a good example. You don't have to, from your own language, you can have as many languages as you can. That's what is basically not wrong, and was intended for us to accept is remove sort of, in order to acquire English or French or German, you somehow or other made to believe that you must either forget your language or feel ashamed of it, and so on. And my argument has always been the other way around. Actually, when you're rooted in your own language, and it does not matter how small it is in terms of the numbers who speak it, and then add other languages to that, I call it as empowerment. I mean, and it's so simple. I mean, it's not as if I'm saying something which is, which we don't see for themselves, but we are often blinded by our own educational inheritance and other things which have roots in colonialism to think that to love English or French, you must hate your mother tongue. Yeah. To be proud of French and French accent and English accent, you must really be totally ashamed of your or accents and all that kind of thing. And it's, well, I was going to say a strong word, but we are in Zoom. But all I'm trying to say is really, it's nonsense, right? Absolute nonsense, the colonial thing, yeah. You can learn Kiswahili, add Luo, add Yoruba, add English, add French, add Spanish, and you are the better for it, right? Yeah, you're actually stronger for that. Yeah. Now, maybe also acknowledge that I was very impressed by Odilia's work in Kiswahili. Yeah, I don't know whether anyway, her work in Kiswahili, and and I was urging people, how can you not learn from the eye of God, right? So, yeah, and I was really very, very impressed by that. Yeah. So the question you're asking, let's go. Yeah.
Yes, the question I asked is that memory, you wrote in your book, memory and consciousness are inseparable.
Yeah, memory. I mean, memory is it's like how we draw. It's like in every African culture, I think household, there used to be what we call the egg or ikobe. That's it. The ikobe is why when you harvested, you put them there and you always go for, you want to cook, you go there and get a few whatever. Yeah, yeah. Now, you know, language is like the ikobe of memory. Yeah, right. It's why you go to get things, you know. Without memory, who are we? Hmm? And in the book you are referring to, which maybe I should have had a title which sort of was much more probably obvious about something new. You can actually, we don't have to go very far. And I don't want to offend anybody, but we have to even to look at our names. The name is the first thing that says, this is who I am. This is who I am. Name, the first pointer to my identity. African children everywhere, they are baptized John or James, like me, James, or Jane or anything. So where there was one boy is replaced by Jane. Or where there was a Thiongo, she is replaced by Margaret. And remember those names are pointers. You are saying, it's like a book you are reading, or you're telling, if you read my book, I'm Jane. Yeah, read me as a book. I am James. Oh, good. So when you tell, even before you start as an African person, when it's from the continent, since African people abroad were the first people to be, whose names were the first to be written. So you talk to somebody and you're saying, even before you speak, you're telling him, I am James, more or less, you know. So that very encounter of who you are, you begin by pointing elsewhere. Right? So now, let me give you one or two examples I've given in the book. I don't know. You look at colonial ventures, wherever they went, they planted their names on the places they went to. Right? I think in the book I've given an example of New York, when it was first occupied by people from Holland, Dutch. So they called it the New Amsterdam. New York was New Amsterdam. Then the English came and removed the Dutch as the dominant force. They call it New York. So you see, even within that, you can see New York is burying the memory of New Amsterdam. He said, no, not Amsterdam here. Yeah. But both replaced the name of the place as known by the original inhabitants of that area. Already, that one alone, both Amsterdam and New York, cover the memory designated by the name of the place as it was known by the original inhabitants. So going to New York, in fact, there's no connection between New York and the name it had before and the memory that name carried. Now you go to New York, it's New York. When you think of New York, you think of England, the original York, or whatever, yeah. And no matter what you do, when you go there, New York, it has literally buried under it, it's completely buried under it, the memory of the previous, the name of the previous, the identity of the previous is buried completely. Well, now you go to New York, you see it, New York, not the other. The same, obviously, with my name, James, for instance, you know, it's what's covering. You know, when I went to baptism, I did I was not baptized as a child. I was baptized later in life. And I remember going to first of school. I went and what's your name? I said, Gogewa Ajiko. Now, Ajiko is my mother's name because I came from a house of many mothers and one father. So all the mothers were really our mothers. But since we're a large household, we are mostly known by our mothers' names. And that was natural to me. Goa Ajiko. The teacher asked me, and what is your father's name? Oh, Thiongo. Okay, yeah, Goa Thiongo. Then I went back for baptism. I said, since these European names are so good, I'm not going to have just one. One is not enough for me. I'll get two of them at the same time for the price of one. So I said I want to be called James Paul. The priest or whoever said, no, that's too many for you. That's too many for you. Just stay with James. So James I became. And for many years, I really struggled with that name because I would keep on trying. I said, James, I've taken out my mother and my father out of it altogether. So to bring my father in. So I became James T. Ngugi. Oh, even then, you see, my father is buried between it's T, it's lead to a T. Okay. And I struggle with that. Should I say James Thiongo or JT Ngugi or what? Yeah. Now, I'll say something else, and I'm not pointing at anybody. I'm just saying that I have seen this. I've seen, for instance, in Kenya. I said, let me say among Agiko elite. I'm sure it's probably true of other ladies. Yeah. They have very beautiful names. The core names are really very beautiful. As I'm sure all other names are. But let me just say, like Jerry, for instance. You can play around with Jerry. Jerry, Nejata, Jerry. Yeah. Now, it's very, very beautiful. Nyambura, she who brings rain, is so, so beautiful. Mombi, the creative spirit. I mean, they're just beautiful names. I'm sure it's true of all the other names of other people. It's like the eye of God. Anyachi means eye of God. Why on earth would anybody, you'd want to put it out there. I'm not saying to put it out there. I am the eye of God. What's your name? Eye of God, right? But often we use Adelia as an example, not. So Adelia, with such a beautiful name, he baptized Margaret. And I've seen now what ladies are doing. They put Adelia. No, they don't put Adelia. They put their English name or whatever, call it Margaret. Then they put Anyachi or between, they put Margaret. And support. So what they do is they say, I am Margaret Okonga. In other words, it's the woman's name is the African name is reduced to N or T. The European name, full, is the beginning. Then a dot for the African name, and then father's name or husband's name. So say Jerry then, or didn't come, then law has become lost between a European name and patriarchy. So the representative of woman, it disappears somewhere. I thought you would want to highlight it, right? You want to highlight, not to hide it between patriarchy and colonial, right? That's not a good space for it. Let's be free. Let's say, I am the eye of God, and I'm proud of it, right? Don't hide it. I'm not saying hiding, I'm just saying that I've seen that tendency in Kenya. Even when they are saying good things, even when they go progress politics, they hide there. But I want these names, like the names in Kedamoyuru, to be like the names of these women, yeah, or men, to be really, really, highlighted because of what, it's just pride alone. She tells us, let me be, You're not taking away from anybody. To be you or me, I'm not taking away from anybody. I'm not stealing. Right? But we behave as if we're doing something sinful in acknowledging, say, our names. Because like something, yeah. Now, the same with the language, obviously. Yeah. Language, I've said, is a carrier of memory, a memory bank of a people, of anybody, event, whatever. But there's nothing wrong in building upon that, right? There's nothing wrong in the case of Kenya, in knowing your Luo language, your mother tongue, then adding to it French or any other languages you want is actually empowerment, right? But for some reason, because the colonial thing, the empowerment is taken away from us, or we take it from ourselves. Empowerment, which is my relationship to my mother tongue. Therefore, my relation to my community. Therefore, my to the history carried by that language. That is the memory. The memory carried by that language, okay, which is my mother tongue. From my mother tongue, I can add other memory, and it'll be very, very interesting, because then I can compare my memories of my mother or my mother tongue and other memories, right? And I can learn a little bit from the others, or I can say, oh, I don't need that, or whatever, right? So our languages are becoming very, very important, carriers of the memory of who we are, where we've come from. And if somebody does not like that one, let them go and hang themselves, right? Sing uttering your name so that the other person can, I don't even know what, right? It's my language. If you don't like it, go hang yourself. Yeah. But I can add. You see, what's very interesting. I can add. The beauty of this is I can add to my language. I can be a master of Luo, Luya, or Yoruba, or Igbo, and be a master of Zulu, and Japanese, and Chinese, and English, and depending on my capacity. But the root is strong. around which I'm building all that. I'm not going there I'm not going to Japanese as a beggar. No, I have my own language, right? But if I know Japanese, that's good. When I'm in Japan, I can converse with Japanese, and I can even hear the secrets over there. But in a colonial situation, we have all over the world, and it's a conscious thing. We were made to forget precisely that. Our names, our languages. Because the reason I use the word names and interchangeably, because language is really a naming system. A naming system, yeah. I want to give you two examples only to show that it was a conscious thing. It was an outcome consciously designed. Right? I don't want to give a whole lecture, but maybe I have to say this one. In fact, I will start with Europe. The Irish and the English, they are both Europeans. In fact, they have the same island, isn't it? I mean, more or less, I mean, two islands or whatever, they are there. Sometimes they, right? And there's a time when the British English settlers were trying to settle to own lands in Ireland. The Irish were, of course, resistant, but unaware. The English were to conquer them with the sword. The Irish were tough as, fighting back. So the English thought, how shall we overcome these wild, whatever? They are fighting a better fighters than we are. So we can't really, then comes a writer like you and me. He's called Spencer. He's a contemporary of Shakespeare, right? Edmund Spencer, he has a book which he produced in 1598 or 1596. And it's called A View of Ireland at the Present Time. In this book, although in a language now maybe not always beautiful, but it's very, very interesting because there is a dialogue between two characters. It's a dialogue between two characters. And they're asking themselves, how is it we have not been able to conquer the Irish with the sword? Or make them submit? Simple. He says, well, he doesn't say his word simple, but all we need to do is get at their names. You know how they call themselves, or Daniel or Mark Daniel. He says, all we need is to get rid of their marks and O's and their language, and they shall soon forget who they are. It's there in the book. They will soon forget. We are going to erase their memory. That's where memory comes in. Erasure of their memory, because the language is a carrier of memory.
Thank you, Professor. My colleagues also have questions, so I don't want to take all the time. Thank you for that beautiful lecture or talk.
Or answer.
Or answer, yes, or answer. Actually,
lengthy.
Lecture, yes. And it is true. I used to write my name Odilia A. Okonga.
Oh, okay.
Yes, until I now started to say, no, I'm Anyachi.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, and most people were asking, oh, Anyachi, is that your husband's name? Because we didn't know he was Anyachi. I said, no, that was my name.
Yeah, eye of God.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
not looking at the eye of God.
Thank you, Professor. I now hand over to Rose to ask the next question. Rose.
Thank you very much, Odilia, and thank you so much, Professor. And as I mentioned, I would like to go back to Decolonizing the Mind. It's in that book that you say that you are writing that book for the last time in English. And in that book, you talk of a time when language, and the language of education and the language of playing outside and the language of working in the fields and the language of hanging out with everyone was basically the same. And now, of course, now that is no longer the case. And now I just wonder, do you think this could be a realistic state to go back to in the world we are living today, especially when we look at Kenya with the separation and what do you see as the effect of having an education in one's mother tongue rather than an education in the third or second, third, or even fourth language as most Africans attain today?
Almost even, I don't know, I've not read all the experts, but every expert from UNESCO to other people, they always say mother tongue is actually the best tongue through which to learn. And then mother tongue is not just, okay, the language you're growing up is the language which, first of all, when child is growing up, they use the language of the hands touching and, and tasting and all that. Then they begin to touch. And the first thing they touch are the, mother's cheeks or ears. I mean, they are, and their own. I mean, they are learning and they say, oh, maybe initially they think only their mother has ears. Oh, and then they see somebody else. Yes, like my mother, or I, I mean, you start, okay, I don't give another lecture, but let me try this one. The human body is the source of all knowledge. Let me just, sorry. The zoom in it. Huh? Yeah, good. So where I was now?
The human body is the source of knowledge.
The human body.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, this one fascinates me a lot. Okay, the implication of colonizing the human body. Really, human body. Do you realize the human body is the source of all the knowledge systems we have in the world, particularly all the technologies, the human body. And I can prove it. Well, I don't even truly know it, because if you take technology of walking, right? We can actually walk from here. You can go around the world even at the time. Huh? You're going walking slowly. It may take you 100 years, but you can actually walk around the world. The capacity to walk, we already have that, correct? We have the capacity to walk. We walk, right? We move from point A to B. Yeah? So when I get a bike, it's the same thing. It's enhancing a technology I already have, right? It makes go further. Then a car, then an aeroplane. All those really are technologies of motion, and I have it already in my body and yours. The technology of sight, of seeing, we have all these things like, but we already can do that with our eyes. The technology only enhances what we already have. right? Isn't it? We see the whole world, you know, or whatever, and then we part remain with that others, you know, but already that capacity to see is with us in our own bodies, right? And you can go on. The technology of hearing, you know, again, we already have it. Yes, we just add other things to it, you know, as well as or any technology we have in the world today is an extension or projection, if you like. They're very helpful, but we can do many of those things anyway on a small scale because we have a technology anyway, right? Technology of memory, and so that we now praise in computers and say, oh, my computer can store. But how much is your brain already is able to store, right? So we already, our body is already a computer in us with technology of making things. You see how even those machines that lift stones and so on at building sites, how they try to imitate the hand, and they look very awkward. Look at how many things the hands can do, right? Neighbor, you know, not say not use of their very, very important, but I say all that technology is already with us. So even to know our own bodies should really honestly be the start of knowledge systems. And a child, when it grows up, actually follows that pattern. Mothers, then first of all, they don't even think the ears are their own. And then, it's my own. They're very excited. Sometimes they're going to discovering their own body. And discovering their own body becomes a basis of their knowing and interacting with other bodies, right? So I don't want to, I mean, the body is a marvelous thing we have. The body, the human body is incredible when you come to think of it, you know. But so you can see the implication of colonization in terms of making people, first of all, not their own body, the body of others. You know, you have a river in your background. If you know that river and you see another river somewhere else, surely you can see even the differences between the river you know and this other one. The river you know will help you to know more rivers and their different features. But then, no, not knowing anything about, knowledge systems come from our bodies and from our communities and so on, okay? But you add to that knowledge interacts with other knowledges, even from elsewhere, right? But if you, again, the colonial thing, always try to make African, at least the colonized generally, not to know their body, not to know that they are Black, or to say, or other things that they can do. Not even to have a negative attitude towards their body, the source of all knowledge. And our body is the source of all knowledge in the world, right? And you're told, yeah, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I don't know even what question I'm asking. You start me going, I'll go on and on. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think our bodies are the source of all knowledge. That I think if I don't carry anything today and I carry that, that is so powerful. Thank you so much. And I will quickly pass over to you, Njeri.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. Yes, we carry it in our body. And for me, of course, as a scholar of gender, one of my favorite quotes has always been what Professor Ngu Thiongo said or has written, and that is the condition of women in a nation is a real measure of its progress. And so my question goes into this direction of women, in particular African women. So Professor Ngu Thiongo, I would like to know what is the role of women in your books? And in particular in Perfect Nine, is this a feminist manifesto?
Yeah, again, excuse me. Yeah, was it the role of women? There's one question, by the way, I try to answer all those things. That's why, by the way, that's why I wrote really, Kedem with the Perfect Nine, to show women as makers of the world, to show women who are, we shall come to it, I'm sure, but to women who are using their minds to organize, they use their hands, whatever. I mean, it doesn't, these totality of their own being to make things, right? Yeah. But the one question I always say everywhere I go, whether in Africa, in Europe, and so on, please first remember the one thing women do that men can never do. Every one of us here, even in this very setting, was carried by a woman for 9 months. I've never come across a man who was carried by a man for 9 months. So, shouldn't even that alone, that apart from God, the women are really in a sense our creators, because for 9 months, we are nothing absolutely without them. Shouldn't that really, in a way, be a kind of way of, wait a minute, let's look at our mothers differently. And my sister is a potential mother, my neighbor is a potential mother, and all that. That alone, centrality. And that's why, by the way, in the Perfect Nine, women are again fairly central in that, yeah. And in the epic, 9 becomes a significant number. For when the young men come to woo the ladies and they fall asleep, I think they sleep for 9 months. Like being born again, in other words, right? Yeah, woman. But apart from that, in real life, I mean, in ordinary, every one of us knows how, I mean, it does not matter who, how the complete, even after you come out of being carried by her for 9 months, even the next 9 or 3 or totally dependent on woman. Shouldn't that alone itself, that alone, which is a fact, not fiction, be enough to make us say, wait a minute, woman, right? Instead of denigrating womanhood or womanhood, say the wife, and if you carried me for 9 months, then like fed me, I don't know for how many more months, and so on. And she looks happy, or she's going about her work, other works, I mean, that, what I want to say, even that kind of simple framework, when we start knowledge from ourselves, then we can, because when you start from where we are knowledge, you see what you do is, if we learn what we do, we'd learn a lot. But somehow in the education system, we are saying, not what you know is important, it's something else. Instead of adding that something else to what you already know, You say, oh, but you know woman is very important in your life. You know it, and I know it, right? And then if I could carry that knowledge, I know it, and add other knowledges to it, there will never be this gender sort of woman cannot do this or can do this, because they've done it anyway, right? And in history, we know they have done it. But when it's written, the woman becomes a footnote. They were helping the men to go and fight. Sure, yes, maybe someone took a spear and went and fight. But who fed him when they were going to that war? You know, when people are, you know, when military forces are fighting, even today, the first thing try to, if they can starve the others, they won the war. That's why they attack their food supplies and other things. Yeah. Woman supplier. So what I'm saying, if we can, this system of knowledge we have, we starting with ourselves all the time, starting with what really is, we can learn, but a lot of what is gets distorted in the education systems which have developed really under modern capitalism. All over, I'm not talking about Africa, even Europe and other places, the same thing. But if people say, with where I am, what I see, and then add to it, surely we can learn a lot, even about ourselves, even about the role of women in our societies. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, women are the creators, the carriers, and the givers of life. And I think that's a very important thing to remember. And that each and every one of us should always appreciate our mothers, appreciate women, because yes, indeed, we do a lot, and we carry a lot. We are not only creators, but we are also protectors, and we are carriers. And thank you so much for that. Bamba, my colleague, also wanted to ask something, and then
by
after,
the way,
yes,
and by the way, it is a fact. I'm not manufacturing anything.
yes, yes,
It's actually true.
Thank you, sir.
yes, yes, yes.
So true. So
So
true.
Bamba, you're next, please.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Professor. My question is, how did a Catalan legend come to inspire you? Has your work been a response to other works? And what are the lessons you want to put across with this latest masterpiece?
First of all, let me say, as I said, that we always learn from, when you go to your base course, right, you learn from, you keep on learning, and it's very important to learn from others, okay? Yeah, it's, okay, Catalonia. I went to Catalan, I think, to Barcelona first of all, in Spain, because my Spanish publisher is there. It's from Catalonia, Catalan. And then one day I went to another small town and I think once somewhere, right, they gave me a book about this story of this young knight, who goes to war. Then they're fighting on the other side, but he becomes a little bit captive of women, Saracens, and love, in other words, makes him, yeah. Now, Catalan is full of snow on the mountains. You see it. And for some reason, I don't know, it's because of living away from Kenya, I was very sentimental. I mean, when I see hills, even where I live in Irvine, there are some hills which have a bit of snow on top. I always feel kind of recognition, because Mount Kenya, where I come from, Kirinyaga, is more, I say, that which has snow. Kirinyaga Nyaga is another word for snow in Kikuyu. But whiteness, gray nyaga. And that's what we call. There's a bird we call nyaga because it's generally white. Okay, nyaga. So those they reminded me of Nyaga and somehow it's the way you read something. It may be something that's very small and just make you go back to other places, right? Yeah. So that story really made me go back to Kenya, to Mount Kenya. I was wondering, he can make such a big epic on those hills. They are very beautiful. But I think Mount Kenya is equally beautiful, with the snow, and which is already and mysterious at the same time, because it's on the equator and it got snow throughout. Yeah, that's how in creativity something goes from one day to another. It may be all writers know this. That sometimes something can make you something in, say, in Germany or in Holland can actually sometimes make you go home. Yeah. When I wrote my novel, A Grain of Wheat, it was actually, quite frankly, from a visit somewhere in Scotland, not Inverness in Scotland. And there's something about the place, the little hills, the gorse, and some reddish kind of flowers, and silver trees, and all that. That took me to Kenya instead. So when I was on train from Inverness back to University of Leeds, where I was a student then. So that's what it reminded me of Kenya. The train we have trains in Kenya, but that train ride reminded me of trains, centrality of the train in Kenya. The foundation of the colonial lines of Kenya is through the train. Yeah. Okay. Then, so I'm going to just show you how this work. All writers know how it works. Then, that train reminded me of Anne Karenina, the novel by what is the name, right? Yeah. And of course, the train is very important there. Anne Karenina is, is meet them by the train and so on. Then the train, oh my, look at how the train was in the American West. You used to grow up seeing cowboys robbing trains and so on. And the train helped open the West, so to speak, for the Americans or whatever. So that train, I had many adventures in a train myself. The first day I was going to high school from my home, Lions High School. At the railway platform, I was stopped from entering the train because I did not have a pass, a kind of passport we used to have in Kenya in those days. For Gikuyu people to move from one section to another, you had to have a paper. Yeah. And I did not have one. So the train passed me by. I saw that I was crying rivers because I saw my dream go away. It's a story. I think I told this story in Dreams in a Time of War. So later I go to school I'm now, instead of going with a proper passenger train, the officer, an African officer came there and snuck me into the back of the train where they put goods. You may not know this, but in the last car, where they put workmen's clothes, or they used to workmen's clothes with their sweat and so, and covered me. So I go to high school, not in the glory of a regular train, but a little covered by workers' sweat and all that, okay? Yeah. So, you see, I mean, all these are coming. The picture of the train now and become very dominant in the novel, A Grain of Wheat. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your inspirational words. And Professor, now over to Rose. To Jerry, right? Or is it to Rose?
It was to Rose, who is now going to sing for us a song that she dedicated to her mother and a song that she composed herself. So welcome, Rose.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this has been amazing. And before we continue, I would like to sing this song. My mom actually wanted to be here today, and we tried everything. It just didn't work. But I'm still going to sing this song here today because especially what we've been talking here. I wrote this song, actually was standing at the train station a few years after I came to Germany, and the song just came to my mind as I waited. And yeah, and it's about this connection between a mother and a daughter and how important this connection is. Sometimes I call my mom and without telling her anything, she already knows something is not working out. And that was also that way even when we were younger. She didn't even look at us. We used to say she has her eyes on the back of her head because you will just hear her saying, "Ah, boy," and then you will just stop doing what you're doing. And this connection, just to keep this connection because it is so healing. And also the mothers that are here that play that role also for us here. You know, it's not just my mom at home, but also so many others who without them will not be here today. And I would like really to acknowledge many mother figures who are here, many moms like Njeri, Batamona Beke, Marie Di Caro, Glenda Obamula, and I can't mention all of you, but you all are really amazing women and amazing mothers. And this is a song for Mama Nakupenda. Now, I hope my technique works. Yeah. Can you hear that? Nilieleza watu siri za moyo wangu, nilitaka understanding yao, nilitaka wanielewe, na pengine wanisaidie siku zilizofuata. Siri za moyo wangu zilijaa kijijini chote. Mama kasema ungenieleza siri zako, mimi ningezificha. Na akasema, oh, ninakupenda wewe jinsi ulivyo, mimi nakupenda, nami mama, oh mama yangu, oh mama, mama nakupenda, mama, oh mama, oh mama. Mama nakupenda, oh mama naomba, ubarikiwe wewe, utokapo, wina urudipo, uona kazi ya mikono yako. Ninaomba ibarikiwe wewe utokapo na urudipo
Oh mama yangu we, oh mama, mama nakupenda, yeah mama, oh mama, oh mama, mama nakupenda, na mama naomba ubarikiwe wewe utokapo, wina urudipo, uona kazi ya mikono yako. Minaomba ibarikiwe wewe utokapo na urudipo wewe. Minaomba ubarikiwe uona mi mama, oh mama yangu we, oh mama, mama nakupenda, yeah mama, mama yangu, oh mama, mama nakupenda, yeah mama, oh mama, mama nakupenda, yeah mama, mama yangu we, oh mama, mama nakupenda. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Not only was she a zebra climber, she's a singer, singing to our hearts and acknowledging our mothers and women. A true manifesto to Kedamwe Rose, Perfect 9. That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Rose, for that beautiful song. That, you know, we love our mothers, and that, you know, without them, sometimes life can be very difficult, and I can attest to that. Without my mother, I would not be here, and most of the things that I've been able to achieve would be impossible, just like so many other mothers who are here today. So we acknowledge you, we say thank you, Asante, and we will now continue in our second session, and here we welcome questions from our audience who would like to ask Professor Ngu Thiongo a question or questions, or who would like to give us a feedback. So now you have the golden opportunity to ask questions if you have any.
I would love to ask a question if it's permitted. If anybody, I don't want to rush into it. Kama mtu mwingine, I would like to speak, but I would love to do that.
Yes, please do go ahead.
Yes.
And for all other questions, please do write them on the chat so that we can be able to answer the questions and also give Professor Ngu Thiongo enough time to respond. Thank you. Ms. Washuka, you can ask your question, please.
Yes. So personally, my name is Washuka. I was born in Kenya. I do have that history of speaking Swahili with my grandmother. And so learning Kikuyu was something that came later on. And 5 years ago, I really had that urge of, I need to get some books in order to start relearning my own language, because I understand everything, but now the speaking part was the challenge, moving to Germany with 11 years. So my mom is always still talking to us in Kikuyu, but now me speaking, my cousins will mock me because it sounds, it's like I speak Kikuyu with an accent, which is really funny, because it's my mother tongue, you know. So, I went to the bookshop that was available in Nairobi, and then I got this book here, Shetani Mudara Faini. And that was actually my very first Kikuyu book. And I have to say that although I wouldn't understand every single word, it was still something that I feel like if I can learn completely, I speak 5 languages. If I can learn German from scratch or French from scratch, I can learn my mother tongue from scratch, right? And what is also, well, not from scratch, but only the speaking part and the writing part, right? Now, because it's very evident what is on the first page, the cross and the white man on the cross. Reading it, I do like the aspects of where they talk about land grabbing and the relationship between the white and the black man at the time. So my question is, you say you lived close to Kirinyaga, and there is this belief that the concept of Mumbi and Gikuyu, and also the practices around praying to Thai, and also having that these practices of praying towards Mount Kirinyaga. What is your opinion on that and on Christianity? Tuwezi kukusikia. It is on mute.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yes, Mount Kenya. You know, for Mount Kenya, it has a reputation of being one of the mountains of the moon that the Egyptian pharaohs used to see. And even argue that they used to visit, commune with God. I don't know whether, you know, mountains of the moon, because it has, as you know, permanent snow. Yeah, that one in Kilimanjaro and a few, they are kind of sister mountains, and they have that distinctive thing of having snow. Whether it's winter or summer or whatever, whether it's rain, sun or whatever, the snow is there. It's a very special mountain. You know what? Every community who live around it, they have their own legends about the mountain, because it's so central to whoever lives around that particular mountain. And you can see it from a distance also. Yeah, yeah. So the legend, for the legend around we have built a perfect 9 is really around that mountain, because they say that the Gikuyu and Mombi were shown the lands around them by God atop the mountain, right? And so when Gikuyu people pray, they tend to turn to the mountain, like it's a kind of sacred thing. You turn to it, you know. Yeah. That's why the book by Jomo Kenyatta, Facing Mount Kenya, always resonates. The title resonates with me, and I think with everybody. Facing Mount Kenya, that idea, you turn to the mountain. In many religions, mountains are important. In the Psalm of David, you know, the valleys and the mountains, you know, are mentioned in the Psalms and so on, because there is majestic presence around you, right? You know, yeah. Now, can you say the question again? I'm lost. I become lost. I was there in the mountain now, walking around the snow.
I think we're really close to answering the question. My question is, if you like the practices around the belief of the concept of Gikuyu and Mumbi, and also praying to Thai and Orongai, and what is your hold on that? And also on the other side, what is your hold on Christianity? Because that's now the new reality of Kenya, right?
No, sorry to laugh a little bit. Not
Yeah.
but I've seen the way they are trying to Christianize the mountain and turn and somehow or other, really, I think we should be. It stands on its own, like other mountain, like other sacred sites of all other people. Yeah, because people all over the world, all cultures have sacred places, sacred mountains or sacred rivers, and so on. And ours is the same, in the same way. But to try and somehow Christianize it, like try to make it be swallowed into, again, Christian Western mythologies, No, it can stand by its own, right? That's what I believe myself. Just like other sacred places of other people, we should only appreciate it if it expresses the Christian or Jewish. It's holy in its own right, in its own terms. Yeah, that's how I was looking at it in the Perfect Nine. That is holy, sacred, not, in my view, uniquely so. It's not like other people, they say, oh, ours is sacred for all people in the world. Of course, mountains are sacred for all people in the world, but I was looking at it in its own terms, Kirinyaga. Yeah, but I saw it as a sacred mountain where many things happen and so on, It was my song of love to Mount Kenya, in a way. And it's always been a song of love by the Eco people when they talk about the mountain. And Thai is such a beautiful thing, Thai, I don't know, it sort of means peace, blessings, or, it's wonderful. By the way, when I was writing, and this is important, when I was writing Perfect Nine, I was also trying to kill, well, not kill, but really rejecting some self-loathing interpretation of those made sometimes when told. Let me give you one story. I went to Kirinyaga, Moranga, and I went to a place where now is reputed to be the place where Gikoyo and Mombi built their houses. It's supposed to be sacred and very nice, really, very beautiful place in terms of they don't keep it very well in terms of houses. They have these houses that look like that. But if they could sort of keep them, they could keep it a very, very beautiful place. But the person who was telling the women the stories, there's someone who tells the story. So he was telling this story about his clan. Jerry, I'm sorry, I don't. The youth in Jerry Asheri was so. We stood there with my friend who was going to read from my book, but we had not. So he was talking about these clans, how, in fact, he talked about his own clan, Jerry, and he said, in Koyo. I was saying in Koyo, then I was in English. Doi itu ya tunyani. Kata de kuku na dora me then I said, okay. Meanwhile, he was saying that and very proudly, you see, his clan, his character is to rob others, right? Right, that's what he was telling them. And this was and I had already written the book, so I know I had another story behind there. But when the reader, this is called Dogi, he's an actor in Kenya. Now, from the book, now read the characteristics of those ladies, I'm telling you, every woman there wanted to have to know about her clan, not from him anymore, but from the book, right? And when you say Wangari, and then the other will say, oh, I want to know. So Dog, my friend, was surrounded by these women who wanted to know about their story, not as told by the other one, but as told in his book. Yeah, I was very much concerned with a correct interpretation of the capacities of those women, because sometimes when we say someone has powers, some because of Christianity, we see through Christianity and it's interpreted as something evil or something like that, So writing this Prophet Ngu was also, honestly, I was also fighting against the some of the interpretations, even held by the Igbo people, about their own culture, about their own heroes, right? I was trying to bring out the heroic nature of the creative, heroic nature of all those 10 women, after whom all the 9 clans of the Igbo people are named.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Mashuka, for asking your question. Please do keep your questions short because we have so many people who want to ask something. But I would like to give Dr. Odiru the opportunity
and I'll be short with my answers also.
No problem. To give her thanks. She wanted to give her feedback. Please, Dr. Odiru, keep it short because we have 5 more questions. And we still want to continue the program as the time is progressing. Thank you. And Wambui will take then over from here.
Thank you very much, Njeri. Professor Thiongo, thank you so much for recharging my batteries. As I listen to you, I feel so energized. I'm Dr. Oderi Wakanayo, and I'm a principal of Children in Freedom School. We're an Afrocentric school in Nakuru. And just to say that yours is work that I have used a lot, especially Decolonizing the Mind. I use it for my PhD. And now in school, the children know you because we keep telling them and they keep saying that anyone who knows other languages and not their own is a slave. And we use, do you want to be a slave? No. Okay. But if you know your language and you learn others, because we are doing French, Mandarin, there's English, because we are preparing them for a global platform and to take over the world, Black children to be great and to be the best, if not better than their counterparts all over. We tell them, if you know yours and then know other people's knowledge, then you are empowered. So just to tell you that your work is so relevant. It's being taught to 3-year-olds. Even work that you did many years ago is so relevant, it's so alive, and it's really fueling the kind of education that should be happening for Black children at the present moment. Asante sana.
Okay, and I thank you very much. I think I've heard of that school and I saw some pictures of the school and I was really impressed because this is exactly how it should be. That from our languages, we add many more. There's nothing wrong with that. Just as we know, you and I know there's nothing wrong with English as English, But what's wrong with English is when it's put as a pedestal, that other language must die for English to be, In order for English to be, other language must cease to be, right? This is what, and this story I was telling about Ireland, it tells you everything. Because it's not simply that they want the people to learn English, but that they must forget their language. That's the key, right? So what we are doing is very, very good because it's going to empower those children. When they go home to their parents, to their grandma, their village, they're absorbing knowledge and issuing knowledge in whatever language they come from. But they are also informed by knowledge from a language. To me, that's powerful. It's so powerful. That's what we want for Africa as a whole, you know. Know yourself and then know others. And by knowing others, you know yourself more. And by knowing yourself more, you know others more. It's a kind of dialectical thing, which when you do this, it's beautiful. Yeah. Those children will be very confident wherever I go. If they come to Germany, they'll not be trembling, wondering why these people seem to be, oh, I don't understand German, therefore I'm inferior. No. Huh? They will know it's a language like any other, right? But they have their own. They can afford to learn another language in the same way, making mistakes sometimes, not doing it, but some or other, they're doing it. But not the way we are today. This is what annoys me so much, An African person will go somewhere and they'll change their name, even so beautiful, so that they say so it's not butchered, is the word I've heard used. I didn't want my name butchered, therefore I butchered it myself for them. Kind of, I'm sorry. That's what it comes to. When I read Russian name, I don't tell them to change them for me. We just start there, and some of them are very long. Right?
Wow,
I have to
thank
deal
you
with
so
that.
much.
That's the reality. Yeah. So you're doing very, very good. I'm very proud of your school.
Thank you so very much, Professor. Thank you, Oderi. I've seen those kids, and when they're asked who was the richest man in history, they say proudly Mansa Musa, wearing African print. Really great job. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And that's why also the importance of the way you've named this Egyptian, to remember our Egyptian beginnings, right? So very important. The way all of us, I'm saying, we're somehow Egyptian civilization, which is as black as anything, erased from our memory. So when we don't think it's us, it's that, but who? Europeans, but there are no Europeans there. Yeah. Who, it's there on the continent. If you draw, you see Egypt is in the continent. And we don't believe, that we believe that what was made there was made some mysterious people. We don't know who they are, but really, that kind of school will help anchor the imagination of the children in the real history of the continent. Of course, our history, it doesn't mean that it's perfect. And I don't want to get this that everything was perfect, but I'm just saying, but if you have a continent that invented modern medicine, architecture, sort of so many things that even talked about, not that big, but resurrections, the Trinity, the idea of the Trinity came from, I'm not saying it's a great thing or not, that's not the issue. The point is that the idea of Trinity and resurrection was a normal Egyptian thinking, okay? The Trinity. And their gods were all in threes. The Son, the Godfather, the Son, and the woman or mother, okay? Always three. The whole idea of building pyramids and other things was so that the buildings research so much so that they build that so that people would come with their clothes and whatever, whenever there's a resurrection, The resurrection was not in the Jewish history. If you read the Old Testament, there's no idea of resurrection or in Egypt, almost every myth has the Trinity and resurrection and Father and only Son and all that. I'm not saying it's great or not great. I'm just saying this where it was normal to talk about the resurrection and so on, okay? And talk about three gods, the Trinity, right? This was Africa, right? So instead of anchoring our children in that one, they become suspicious. We don't know really who built the pyramids. But it's in Africa. It's a must. I mean, if something was built in Europe, do you say it's not Europeans who built it? You try to look for other people? Surely, even colonial education makes us, even that which we can see with our own eyes and hear and touch, we think, oh, no, no, it cannot be true. I mean, maybe some Europeans came and, yeah, that kind of thinking. But we start the way that school system is doing, then they know they can start with their own. And there's nothing makes it not admire other people's creations, and you can learn from them, right? Yeah, you're not ashamed to learn from others. You can learn because you are sure of yourself, and you see something more beautiful than or done just a different way. You compare it with it, you can come and change or add or do something, right? But to forget, to be made to forget, to erasure of memory through our own languages, through everything else, is a terrible, is the original sin as far as colonialism is concerned. Yeah. That one of making people, and it was deliberate. The key thing is, it's not something which was accidental. No. You can go through, as I went through Ireland, I can go through the banning of African languages in the plantation, with people even being killed for speaking African languages, while Europeans in the same plantation were kept in touch with their languages, right? But African ones wiped out. It was deliberate. And they said so. We're doing they said so in India because must have English and destroy Sanskrit because we want a class of Indians with an English mind. They said in Kenya, it was the same. In 1952 in Kenya, before the thriving literature magazines in different African languages. In 1952, the British, through a state of emergency, banned and imprisoned the writers who were writing African languages. I was not the first to be imprisoned in Kenya. Colonial Kenya, they had imprisoned all the poets who wrote and composers who did so in African languages. And thereafter, there was an English program in all the schools. It became, so you can see it's deliberate, it's not consciously, deliberately, but language is more thorough in its conquest than the sword. Yeah, it's permanent. It stays there. It's like I don't know how to put it. Like you put it in chains, and you have to find. I don't know. It's really, and you take those chains to be normal, right? When you touch them, you feel, oh, how beautiful they feel. When they clink, you say, that's like music. Yeah. Language is the weapon of conquest. And if Africans and other people don't realize that, they are going to continue with this bit of self-enslavement in this case. And since the opposite is so true, that if you know your land and add others, you are powerful, right? And even if you know your own language and don't know any other language, at least that in itself, you're still anchored. But you can add others. But now I see in Kenya, I'm sorry to get across, I see children in Kenya, they're either English or Kiswahili. I like Kiswahili, it's an African language, but it should not itself replace the mother tongue of that child, right? It should be an addition to the mother tongue of that child, not a replacement, right? So if it's Luo, you know Kiswahili, you know English, or many other languages. That should be the order. You know, it's normal. There's nothing abnormal about it. The other way around is abnormal, and abnormality has been sold to us as normality, in fact, as civilized normality.
Wow,
Right.
thank you so much. I almost feel guilty at this moment to come in because you're in a flow and I really want to listen. But our time is quickly rushing. I do see all your questions and I do see that Dabo and Batamona, you had raised your hands. But before we get to you, we would like to tell you a little bit more about Kai and what that actually is and what is our concrete plan with this before we finish, so that, because this is exactly what we want, you know, we want these our languages, you know, we want these our languages, and anyone who does something in our languages, we want this recognition, and we want that it can be a sustainable thing again, to value our languages again. And Udilia is going to tell us a little bit about the categories of CAR. Who actually gets to join this CAR thing? Udilia, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Professor, for your time. And actually, there are so many questions. You know, we cannot be able to answer all of them, but we'll go to Carl. As you had heard, this is an award we want to launch, where we are going to, you know, it is going to encourage the Africans on the continent to, you know, to nurture these languages of ours. So we have 9 categories of the awards that will be given in conjunction with the blessings of Professor. And category number 1 will be language. Number 2 will be literature. Number 3 will be on culture. Number 4, politics. Number 5, gender empowerment and equality. Number 6, education. Number 7, environment. Number 8, science. Number 9, technology. The awards require that the work be written in African languages. One will have to provide the original works in their mother tongue. So this will be very interesting. And this is a way of acknowledging those whose work would never be known or appreciated because of using mother tongues. We want to make them visible with the CAL Awards. So it is simply that we do our work in mother tongues, our mother tongues.
Thank you, Odelia.
Yeah.
We are reaching out to all of you, friends, brothers, sisters, organizations, institutions who want to partner with us to make this award possible. Please communicate with us via email, info@cal.org. Cal, that's AAA.org. A luta continua. The struggle continues. Over to you, Rose.
Thank you very much. So now you've had what we are planning. And of course, for all this to happen, and we believe in sustainability because we have seen things are happening. There is a movement still, although many people are leaving their languages and their bodies, but there's another movement which is really moving towards this direction. I've had someone who was translating an app for their mother in Nigeria to just understand these messages in the mother's language. And I just think there's already a lot happening. Sometimes we don't see what's happening because also racism is power. And so we only see things that people want us to see, but there are things that are happening. And we want, with this award, to show you such things that are happening in the underground that you don't even know, but people are just doing great things. Technology in another language, in Yoruba, for example, or I don't know, someone here who wrote another book, Marceline, about this Adinkra science, you know, really wonderful things. But for that, We of course need your support. We are going to need a lot of your ideas. We're going to need a lot of your also financial support, moral support, and also just coming to us and telling us, what do you think about this whole idea? Because it's for all of us. It's not for us. It's for at least for our children and for our children's children. So do stay in contact with us. The email you used to register for this is open, and you can use that to connect with us. We need artists, we need graphic designers who are willing to assist us to make their wordplay sculpture and letters. You know, those people you see who've done such a great thing and you always wish, I wish they would get an award. Those are the people we want to recognize who are doing something in our mother tongues. Okay, now it is 4 minutes, it's 3 minutes to time, and there's so many questions. I don't even know now who to take or which question to take. Jerry, could you be of help, please?
I would suggest, because we had the two people who had already raised their hands before, maybe we take the two questions, please. Short
Okay.
questions. Professor Ngu wa Thiongo, short answer. So that we can be able to answer the two questions on time. And I think normally in such a platform, if you go 10 minutes or 15 minutes over time, I think that's not a problem. So I think we can allow the two questions, and we have had great thank you from our viewers and our participants today who have said they have been inspired, that they want to thank you, Professor Ngu wa Thiongo, for being here, that you have made their day. There's one person who had a birthday today, and she said this was the greatest gift for her to be here today. So we thank you all for being here, and we'll let then the two questions, and then we wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. Yeah, happy birthday, Desta. Now over to you, Dabo, and then after you, we will have Helen.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you very, very much for this event. It is wonderful. I don't have a question. Finally, I hear everything and I learn so much from Professor Ngu wa Thiongo. So it's how you say, yeah, it's a kind of honor to be here between all people of Africa and to have this time to share. I agree with the ideas of keeping the African mother tongue and then after go to others. Wonderful, thank you, beautiful, and with all that music that I have heard. And I encourage all people of international school to continue to give to us these opportunities of making us grow. So please, let's just live our lives. Don't put it in terms of resistance, in terms of no. We just breathe and live our lives. Very simple, like the flow of your song, Wambui.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dabo. That is the person who wrote the book with Adinkra Science. You can contact that person. He's very great. Okay, thank you so much for your feedback. Moving over to you, Batamona Abeke. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rose, and the whole team of Carl for giving me this opportunity. Straight to the question. I personally, I come from Mount Kenya, Kirinyaga area, on the slopes. You can really tell from my accent if you're from Kenya. And when I was coming to Europe, my father reminded me something. He told me, you are going to those people that colonized us. Don't forget your language. Don't forget your food, because by so doing, you're going to be a prisoner. And this was at the airport before I checked in. And these ones have accompanied me till today. And I'm so touched when you talked about the same. And mind you, my father was a freedom fighter, so he knew what he was talking about. Now, My one is to encourage those parents or those that don't speak their mother languages so that they don't say it's too late, because it's never too late. You can always begin this journey, just as Jerry began her journey when she met you the other day here in Cologne. Just as Washuka said that she, as on her own, she went and started trying to coach herself. I just felt like there are some people who can go home today very frustrated because they don't speak it and they feel they are too old to learn this language. It is never too late. You can start. And when you start it, it's going to be a liberation. It's going to start a journey that you're going to be fulfilled. I have adult children in this country. I kept on speaking my language to them, and it was just passive. They were just understanding and not speaking. Then I went with them to Kenya. They were literally not speaking one word of my language. 1 week was enough for them to even start insulting in that language. Just to tell you what just passive, just hearing can do to a children. And many parents here can testify. Their children understand everything. They do what you tell them in your language, but they don't respond to you. So you think they are not understanding, and then you switch on to European languages to wanting to make the message more clear. No, continue with your language until it comes out. The moment they are going to be in a place where many people are speaking this language, they are going to come out and be themselves. This is what I wanted to add today. Thank you very much, Mzee Ngugi.
Yeah, that's very good, actually. I support that wholly. Even, let me just say quite quickly, when I was beginning to write in Gikuyu, remember, guys, I was in prison, maximum security prison. That's where I wrote my first novel in Gikuyu as a challenge. And initially it was very difficult because, you've heard about the devil? Huh? You've heard about the devil or Satan. Devil, D-E-V-I-L. Huh? Devil.
Yes.
Huh? Shaitani. You are writing in Koyo. I'm in prison. Of course, very difficult to get some word because I'm not used to it. I'm beginning news like it is. Then these little Shaitanis called English, the little devil speaking English, will come and tell me, "Oh, why? Why are you bothering? I'm here. You can use me." In other words, because I'm used to English, it was telling me, why are you bothering with finding when there's an already made English word here, So even I had to struggle with those little devils, okay? I had to fight wrestling. That's why my memoir of prison called Wrestling with the Devil, right? Because I had to struggle. And as you say, and I agree with you, once you persist, the results will come of themselves, yeah. But where we live, we are overwhelmed. Those who are in exile, they are overwhelmed by English or European languages. So the child is hearing that language all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why they live, okay? So the bigger the volume outside, even the bigger the, you must also raise your voice a little bit from within your house, okay? And they will learn, and they'll be very grateful afterwards.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so very much, Professor. And thank you, Batamola Beke, for your encouragement. Now, I think we are just going to have one more question and then we are going to have to close this session. Beatrice, yours will be the last question, but before we get to you, I saw Maureen Okeo had asked, Professor, there's a time you had announced about a website where people can read books in all mother tongues. I think it's a time when you had come to Germany. Do you still know this website, or
No,
does it still exist?
No, I was referring to one of my stories called The the upright revolution in English, okay? Either. And in your case, itu kare amuro garo. Itu kare amuro garo in Ikoyo. And this story has now been translated into 94 languages all over the world, including many African languages, right? Go to that website. It's called, I don't know, I'll just tell you, go to, can I write somewhere? Where can I write it?
In the chat, there are 3 dots somewhere.
Okay, so the upright, go to the Jalada website. Yeah. Jalada translation issue number 1. If you it will take you to the site, Jalada or Jalada. And the story is the upright revolution.
The upright revolution, okay.
In English, anything will take you there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what you are referring to. And when you go there, you'll be other I'll be very quick. Some people of Latino people in Los Angeles have now done a visual interpretation of the story. So the story now is transported to Latin America, right? Yeah, just from one Gikuyu original, but through translation, you have all this global. You go to the site, actually it's a very interesting site in that respect.
Thank you very much. We will look for that site, and in case you didn't find it, we are going to send
Yeah,
that.
you can put what the upright revolution or Gogi upright or Jalada, you'll find it there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Betty, you are the last. You have the honor to ask the very last question. Welcome. We can't hear you.
Unmute yourself.
And now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
So first of all, I would like to thank the team from Germany, Wamboi, Jerry, and your colleagues for having successfully invited us to this Zoom. And most importantly, of course, I would like to thank Thiongo for having had time to speak to us. I'm actually one of the generation that read your books. I'm one of the A levels in Kenya, the last one that finished the A level, and I studied your books. And I am so privileged to see you today in person because you've been my mentor. I am from originally from Muranga. I'm from the generation of Karori Wagakure. That is what I hear. Yeah. And my father drove us to Eldoret, so I was born there. So they moved to Eldoret in the 60s. So Karori happens to be my grandfather. Unfortunately, my father has passed on, and I have an old mother who is 88. She's the last one in her generation from Kafuko. And my Kikuyu name is Wanjiru. I was among the young people who actually brought democracy into Kenya. So I was elected as a councillor in 1992. And I was among the pioneers of democracy in Kenya. So that means the line of Karori, that leadership of Karori is still in our blood. So my question is, can you kindly tell us a little bit about Karori Wagakure, because I'm a bit lost. I've been trying to look for the generation of Karori Wagakure in vain. I have formed a WhatsApp group. We are about 60, and I just feel lost because I'm in a city where I do not really know my roots. And I suspect we are a very big generation. I would like you to give me some of the tips, and maybe tell us a little bit about the Paramount Chief Karori, because historically we've heard a lot about him. And I'm currently representing the Chamber of Commerce Kenya in Germany. So I still promote my country, even though I'm living in Germany currently.
No, that's
So
all right. Yeah.
I would be very, very glad if you gave us a bit of some history about Karori Wagakure, the paramount chief.
Sorry, I'll not be able to do that today, but I can do a bit more research on him. We used to hear Karori Wagakure. He was a very, very popular name. We would hear about it. He was a senior chief. He was a chief, senior chief. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll do more research on him myself. I don't want to tell you any wrong facts, okay? Yeah, and whatever I find, I'll give them to Jerry Jetta. Yeah, I'll give them to Jerry. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so very much.
Yeah. And Jerry,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I've got a friend who I can find out from him. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's
Thank you very much, and thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
You are an inspiration to many of us.
Oh, thank you. I really continue. And by the way, remember, exile is very, well, I don't call it exile. It's also very important. You remember Moses was in exile for 30 years in Egypt, right? And he's the one who did whatever he did for the Jewish people, okay? Jesus had run away. Muhammad had run away. Oh my God. There are so many stories of the impact of exiles on their homelands. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Professor. I wish we had days. I wish we had classes with you every week where we could just come and just sit and listen. That would be a great honor. I just want to take this moment and thank all of you. I saw your questions. It's just impossible to talk about all of them. We just can't. But thank you so much for your time and for listening in. And at this moment, I would like to give over to Njeri. And before that, also thank you very much, Professor. Also,
and can I say, thanks very much for discussing my book, The Perfect Nine. It empowers women, so really spread the word. The Perfect Nine, yeah.
Yes, so thank you everybody for coming.
Oh, wow. Somebody reading on. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Once again, we would like to say again that we have the Carl Awards, which is going to celebrate the work and philosophy of Professor Ngu Thiongo, because we want to acknowledge his work while he is still here. And as children of Mother Africa, we want to thank you, Professor Ngu Thiongo, for being an inspiration to generations. Thank you for taking your time. We want to thank everybody who has stayed with us until this time. We know it's late, but when it's online, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to control the time, but we say thank you very much. We would like to know more about your experience with us today. So please keep in touch with us at our email, the one you used to register, info@Carl with triple A, please. And we can move on from there. Thank you very much. It has been a wonderful evening. I hope each and every one of us learned something today. I hope that we can be able to meet next time, not only just talking, but giving really the Carl Award to those who will be selected. And as Rose said, we really need your support so that we can be able to make this happen, and that Professor Ngu Thiongo can be also there and see that the thing is really taking place and happening. So thank you. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you. Asante sana. And we say to you, everywhere you find yourself, Lala Salama, sleep well, good night. And we thank you all for coming. Thank you so much. I am so glad that there are still so many of you here. So thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Ngu Thiongo. We will have more laughs after.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here is lunchtime.
Yes, then please do enjoy your lunch and thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Ni
All
wega
right.
muno, thank
See
you.
you again. Wamba.
Murathimwo.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Okay.
Please say it in your language how you would say it. It's open. Say bye-bye in your own mother tongue.
Okonevulai.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Au revoir.
Au revoir in any of your language. We will wait for everybody until everybody's gone. On mother tongue. I can see here Nusata Dujunti. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mary DiCaro, for being here. Asante sana, Nwega.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Asanteni.
Asante sana. Thank you,
very much
Anne.
for the organization.
Very much.